Welcome to Body Language and Travel Show. My guest today is Professor Mansouri. I love to talk with Professor Mansouri about keto and about confidence and leadership in body language. So, welcome, Professor Mansouri.
Thank you so much for inviting me to this interview. I hope we can provide our audience a lot of value today.
Let's travel. Let's take the aeroplane and travel to Quito, Ecuador. Professor, how it feels like to live in the first world UNESCO site capital city of Quito?
Thank you. That's a brilliant question. South America is a very beautiful place. It's so green in comparison to the place I was born in. I was born in Iran, and I came to South America after living in some other countries, and I found it very interesting on the aspect that it's very green and the culture here is so friendly. Living in South America, here in Ecuador, in Quito, the capital of Ecuador, has a special feeling because I feel like I'm in the center of the world on the aspect of being on the north side, the south side. I'm in the middle, and like I get to have the sun 6:30 in the morning to 6:30 in the evening. So every day, almost every day during the year, I get to have the same amount of sunshine on my head and the same amount of the time during the night. So everything is the same. That sameness, that monotonous geography helps you have a good routine and schedule your day better and get the hang of the activities that you do during the day. So that makes me very excited. I love it. I love living here so much.
So all this, I need more characteristic also about the characters, about how it is the South American people. How are the people look like?
Well, the language, most people in South America speak Spanish, except for Brazil and 2 or 3 other small countries that are mostly islands. And of course, Guyana, French Guyana, these countries speak different languages. But the dominant language in South America is Spanish. Most people speak Spanish, and the accents, the cliches, words that they use are quite different. Like the language, the slang language in the street that you see in Santiago, in Chile, is completely different from Quito. The accent is different, the intonations are different, but the language in general is Spanish. The culture is very friendly, specifically in the smaller cities, not like big cities like Quito, Santiago in Chile, Lima in Peru, La Paz in Bolivia, big cities in South America, not like those cities, but smaller cities have maintained the culture and the Spanish, Hispanic, that's the other name, Spanish or Hispanic culture that they have. And it's very friendly, considering everybody as a positive individual, as a positive person, to start communicating in a deeper level. So I enjoy the friendly culture, specifically in a smaller city and in coastal cities in South America.
The first motivation that makes you study about body language after all?
There was a time when I started teaching English. I was very young. I was 17 or 18, something like that. And then I found out that in order to communicate more effectively with my students, then I need to study more books. And I started studying The Power of Charm by Brian Tracy. Probably you know him, probably many of the people in business know about Brian Tracy. He's a great pioneer in sales and in communication. So I started studying that book, and I started understanding how to listen to my audience effectively, how to be an active listener. And that book started, triggered me into studying more and searching more online, YouTube videos, websites, different books. And then there was this body language class when I was living in Iran. I attended that body language class. That was a start. I didn't stop. I started watching more videos. I started reading the book of the father of body language, Alan Pease. Alan and Barbara, his wife, wrote a book in 1970, The Definitive Book of Body Language. And in that book, they proved scientifically where our habitual gestures and postures come from and how we can take control of them to be able to communicate more effectively and respond to situations. Not react, more like respond to the situations, to the places we go, meetings that we have with people, the talks, even on the phone, how we can respond better, not react. Now, the science has proved to us that animals and human beings can react, but only human beings can respond by the power of choice, by will. And body language is a very good tool to use to be able to respond more effectively. So that's where it started primarily. And then I didn't stop. I studied more. I studied the book, the fantastic book of What Everybody Says, What Every Body Says by Joe Navarro. Joe Navarro, he's an ex-CIA, FBI agent. He used to interview criminals, people, inmates, and he used to observe and study the body language of the inmates. And then he started writing that amazing book. I was just reading a part of that book today again for the 5th time. It's called What Everybody Says, Joe Navarro.
A situation, to an event, to a party, in a meeting, maybe some tips?
Absolutely. In a sales meeting, in any kind of meeting, even in online meetings, there's power in our hands, but we have never been taught to the way we can use the power that there is in our palms, in our hands. The more hands we show to the audience, the more self-confidence we are conveying to the audience. So basically, we want to make sure that the position of our hand is not higher than the other person. Let's say I'm in a room and I want to show, I got a pen here and a phone. This is me, let's say that's me, and this is my friend. I want to make sure that I am not in a higher position, my body and my hands, than my friend. And even vice versa. I want to make sure that we are in the same height. If you see, if you take a look at the candidates, the president candidates, there are debates. There were debates before the election in the US. There's a space between the two candidates, and that space has a reason. Sometimes, let's say Trump is taller than the other person. The other person is shorter or taller than Trump. So there's a space so that that height, that difference in height is not felt. That is the primary reason that there is a space, like 7 feet space between them. We want to make sure that we are in the same height. If we are sitting, we want to stand up. If we are standing, if we are on our feet, we want to make sure that we lower our height so that we are in the same position as to the other person. This is the first thing. The other thing, using our palms, we want to make sure that, so I'm going to move this back a little bit. We want to make sure that we use our palms like this as we talk. It shows honesty. It shows that I believe in what I say. We want to make sure we are not pointing to somebody. 95% of the times that people point, it conveys a negative directive message. We don't want to do that. There are situations where we need to point, like we want to give a directive, like 5% of the time. that we want to give directive to the audience. Then in that position, we've seen it in the videos, in pictures a lot probably. There's a picture of a guy, even Joe Navarro, even Alan Pease, even the pioneers of body language, they point to the audience like, this course will give you this. That's fine, because they want to give directive. And so we have this one, we have this, and then we have pointing. We don't want to point at all to the audience, and we don't want to have this body language because it's like pushing. I'm pushing whatever I think that's correct. So I don't want to do that. And I don't want to I don't want to keep my torso closed. The upper part of the body, without considering the arms and legs, is called torso. I want to make sure that in the sales meetings, and even in online meetings and Zoom meetings, I want to make sure that my torso is not closed. I want to make sure of that. Why? The closer the torso, the more uncomfortable I'm conveying myself to be. So I want to make sure that my torso is open. I call this open arm gesture. Open arm gesture. It means everything is welcomed. Your idea is welcomed. Your attention is welcomed. I love you listening to me and we cooperating together. So I want to start my sentence by I and then finish it with we. I am very happy that we are here. I want to use these NLP words. I call them NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming. We will talk about NLP in a little bit too. So some tips. I want to make sure that my torso is open. My torso is not closed. My hands are not hidden anywhere at all. I want to make sure that my hands are, I'm showing my hands. I call this, let's do this together. Would you like to do it right now? Yeah. I would call this steepling, hand steepling, S-T-E-E-L-P-L-I-N-G. I call this hand steepling. This body language shows that I am in power, but my power doesn't humiliate you, doesn't convey, doesn't push you anything. I am in power, but I want to communicate with you in a deeper level, respectfully. As in, this would be, I am in power, but I'm still not your friend. And I don't want to communicate with you yet until you specify and you introduce yourself and you prove yourself to me. Mm-hmm. So after we get to know the other person, we want to change this to steepling, hand steepling, to show that now we are communicating with each other on an even position, even level. We are both in the same boat.
I agree totally. I like the finger point movement that usually mothers are doing to the child. Do this, rather than to finger point the person. Yes, I totally, it was very smart. And about all these valuable tips, so analytical. Thank you so much for doing this. About the torso, the open posture. Let me summarize for our friends. So the torso to be open pointed, to open our gestures, to uncover our palms. We don't hidden our arms behind the back or somewhere else. Same level height, totally agree with you. Thank you so much, it was amazing. And about also the recommendation, because I didn't mention before, your books recommendations, Joy Navarro, about Alan Pease, about all the